Hello and welcome back to our video series on AutoCAD Electrical. Today we're going to be looking at wires and multi-wires. We're going to look at adding wires, adding multi-wires, changing wires, and just kind of experiment and see how they interact with each other. So stick around, here we go. Today we're going to be looking at wires and multi-wires, how to insert them, how to change them, and how they interact with each other. Now, like most of the parts inside AutoCAD Electrical, wires are intelligent objects. They know how to interact with each other and they know how to terminate with each other. So there are special tools that you need to use. First of all, when you're adding wires, don't just draw lines. Now, wires are just lines, but they're on special wire layers, and it's easiest just to put those wires in using the wires tool. So don't use line and don't use erase to get rid of wires. When you want to delete wires from AutoCAD Electrical, you'll want to use the delete wire tool, and I'll show you how to do that. Additionally, wires are intelligent. They know how to interact with each other and they know how to interact with other components. So I'll be demonstrating how to do that in this video. As we come in here, the first thing we want to do is make sure that we're on our schematic tab. This is where all of our tools are for AutoCAD Electrical. And we're going to go to the wire tool right here. This is where we're adding one wire at a time. When I click on wire, the first thing it's going to do in a new drawing is it's going to ask me if I want to insert this WD_M block. And the answer is going to be yes. This WDM block is a special block that needs to be inserted into every AutoCAD Electrical drawing that makes it fully compatible with AutoCAD Electrical. Basically, it inserts it at 0, 0, and it's got some attributes and some other data that make it fully compatible with the AutoCAD database. So all you have to do is choose OK. After you insert it one time, you don't have to insert it again into this drawing, and it won't actually prompt you to insert it anymore. But now that I'm here, you'll see on the command line down here at the bottom that it says to specify my wire start, where I've got two options, wire type and show connections. So right now I'm just going to come in, I'm going to say I just want to draw some wires. Notice that when I click with my mouse, it only wants to draw wires horizontal and vertical. That's because in AutoCAD Electrical and in most electrical drawings, your wires are always drawn either horizontal and vertical. They're not drawn on angles. As a general rule, they're not drawn in arcs and circles. They're just drawn horizontal and vertical. And it wants to put in, two segments at a time. So I can say I want to go there, or I want to come here, or I want to come here. Now, if I want to only draw one horizontal segment here, for example, and not draw the vertical segment, what I can do is I can use the continue option. If you look down here on your command line at this point, you'll see that there's a few different options. There's V for vertical, H for horizontal, but then there's also one for continue, C for continue. So if I stretch it out some distance and just type C for continue and press enter, it only draws that horizontal segment. It won't draw the vertical segment. Now, a few minutes ago, I mentioned that wires are intelligent and they know how to interact with each other. So if I were to come up here and draw a line like this, a wire like this, notice that this wire is going to do something that my wires haven't yet done, and that's going to be that they're going to cross over other wires. Now, normally when you do that, you're going to end up with what they call a wire gap. And AutoCAD Electrical, again, knows how to interact with other wires. So if I go ahead and cross over like this and click with my mouse, you'll notice that, press enter to get out of the command, notice that it automatically puts in the wire gap for me so that we know that these two wires are not connected. This vertical wire and this horizontal wire are not connected, and this vertical wire and this horizontal wire are not connected. And you know that because it's got a gap. Additionally, if I want to show that wires are connected, I just use the wire tool. For example, let's say I wanted a parallel circuit. As soon as I get close to this wire right here, it gives me the nearest object snap. And this is common in AutoCAD Electrical. It's almost always running the nearest object snap. So as soon as that little object snap pops up, I can click and I know that I will be connected exactly to that first wire. Okay. Then I can come over here and I could come down, for example, and I could say I want to attach to this other wire. Now notice that it's not going to give me the nearest object snap right off the bat, but that's okay. I'm close enough to it. It's going to recognize that I want to connect to that wire. When I click, notice that it puts in connection dots. It puts in a connection dots, which is actually just a series of circles, but when you zoom out, it looks like a dot, and it puts in a connection dot here. Okay, so again, these wires know how to interact with each other because they're intelligent. They have intelligent capabilities. Likewise, because they're intelligent, if you want to get rid of a wire, you do not use the erase command. If you use erase, you're going to get rid of a wire or a wire segment, but you may not get rid of some of that data that's kind of behind the scenes, that is kind of hidden from your view inside the drawing. So if I want to get rid of a wire, what I want to do is I want to delete that wire. Okay, and there's a couple ways to do that. The first thing that I can do is I can come up here and I can use this the edit, or I'll just do it this way first. I'll right click on the wire and you'll see that there's an object here that says trim wire. Okay, so it looks like a little pair of pliers. Okay, and I can right click on that and use my marking menu. I can click trim wire and it will get rid of that wire. Okay, if I want to put it back in, again, just get close. I could come over here and I'll put it in this way this time. Get close, it puts it in. Notice when I trim the wire though, it's only going to trim the one segment that I'm working on. So if I right click on this one and choose trim wire, it's only going to trim that one. It didn't trim this one. The other one is right here, trim wire. Again, it looks like a pair of pliers. It's got the wire next to it. So I could come in here and I could say, let's trim that one. And when the advantage to using trim wire is that it erases the wire, but it also erases the connection and the connection data associated with that wire. So notice that it got rid of that, that wire. Now, just to drive this home, if I come in here and I'm going to put that wire back in one more time, just so that it's in here. If I come in and I just use the AutoCAD trim command, trim, enter, and then select all for cutting edges, when I trim that, notice that it got rid of that wire, okay, but it didn't get rid of the connection dot. And if I zoom in real close, you can still see that the wire is actually right there, okay? So I suggest that you do not use the standard AutoCAD commands when you want to erase, trim, those kinds of things, wires, but you only use the AutoCAD electrical command. So trim wire, get rid of that one, okay? Or you can right click and use the marking menu to trim a wire as well. Now, if I were to trim this vertical wire, it's going to trim the wire and it's also going to trim the wire gaps. So again, right click, trim wire. It trims the entire wire, okay, not just the little bit of it, but the entire thing, and it gets rid of those gaps as well. All right. Now, as I look at this wire tool, there's actually a few others. There's 22.5 degrees, 45 degrees, 67.5 degrees. If you want to put in a 45-degree wire, for example, you click on this one. And when you click your start point, it's going to start with a 45-degree segment, and then it's going to either have a vertical or a horizontal segment, depending on how you are working with it. If you only want it to be at an angle, you can use that continue option to get just that vertical or horizontal angle. Okay, if I come down here, for example, and I get close to this wire, it's going to click there. It drew it 45 degrees and then it terminated it with the connection dot. All right. If I do it again, I can start here, for example, it's going to do a 45 degrees and then it's going to do a horizontal one. But notice that next it wants to do another 45-degree segment. If I don't want any more 45-degree segments, then if I look at the command line down at the bottom, you'll see that it says specify wire or end or C for continue. But if I type V for vertical and press enter, notice now that it goes back to just regular vertical and horizontal. So I could have typed V for vertical or H for horizontal, and it would automatically make that next segment either vertical or horizontal for me. Now, the other thing that you can do here is you can change the wire type. Again, in AutoCAD Electrical, wires are just lines, but they're on special wire layers. And so you can create and edit those wire layers. So if I come in here, for example, I'm going to go back to just the regular wire command, and I'll say, hey, I want to put a wire that goes from here to here, and that's all fine and dandy. But if I want to change the wire type, if I look at the command line down here, you'll see that there's a wire type option, and I can type T for type, and it's going to bring up a list of all of the wire layers that are available for me. And you can see that AutoCAD Electrical comes standard with a wire type called wires. Now this is kind of like layer 0. I could delete it, I could change the colors of it and all that kind of thing. Most of the time people just leave this layer in there, but then they create all their own wire layers. Notice that there are no other wire layers available to me. So if I want to create additional wire layers, I actually have to use the wire type tool. And that's on the Edit Wires and Wire Numbers tab right here. I'm going to go up to the Create Wire and Wire Type tool, and it brings up a dialog box. This is similar to your Layers dialog box. And all I have to do to create a wire is to start to type. So for example, if I wanted a blue wire that had an 18 AWG thickness, I would come in here and I would say blue, BLU for blue, and then tab, and then 18 AWG. Okay, that's my wire size. And notice that it creates the wire name automatically for me. Okay, and that's a good thing. And then it asks me, do I want to use this with wire numbering? It's going to be yes or no. Generally, we leave that as yes. And then there are several different user options that perhaps we'll take a look at in the future. You can create other user options over here as well. Now, when I draw this, it's going to, if I make this the current layer, it's going to put my wires on that layer. But just because I told it right here that I want it to be blue, it doesn't mean that it recognizes that it's going to be blue. In order to change that, I have to actually come down here. Notice it's highlighted here. Come down here to the color button, and I can say, let's change the color to blue. And I'm going to pick maybe this brighter one over here so it shows up better on the black background. Say OK. I can change the line type. I can change the line weight. So all of the layer activities I can do right here. Now when it does wire naming, notice that it's giving me the Control C, the Control S. Okay, this is Control C, wire color, and this is Control S, wire size, or excuse me, %C and %S. That's how it came up with that name. If I had other formats that I wanted to add into that, like maybe user 1, I could add the %, I'd have to go back in and add it, and that's some advanced stuff as well. So I've changed my color there, again, to that blue color, so it's all good to go. If I wanted to change the line type or whatever, I could do that. And now if I want to make this one the current wire layer, I can click on it here, and I can say make the selected wire default as default. So now it says blue 18 AWG is going to be my next wire type, and say OK. Now here's where things get a little funky. If I come in here and I put in wires, okay, notice that it adds my gaps in, and these wires are not connected. But if I come in here and I do something like this, I'm connecting that blue wire to that other wire called layers, or that other wire layer called wires. It puts it in as white. Now, I told it that I wanted it to be on the blue layer, but it put it in on the wires layer instead, because AutoCAD Electrical sees all interconnected wires as being on the same layer. So I can't really go back and change that. If I wanted to change it here, let's say I wanted this wire on the blue layer, I could change that. Again, using the marking menu, I can right-click my mouse, and I can choose change or convert the wire type right there, straight up from there. And then I can say I want to change it to the blue one, say OK, and notice now that it changes all of them. Again, it changes them all because it sees them all as on the same interconnected wire scheme. So when I change just that one wire, it's going to change all of the wires that are associated with it. Just something to keep in mind. So I'm going to start a new drawing here. And this time I'm going to put in multiple wires. When you're doing some types of drawings, like maybe motor starter units and those kinds of things, you might want to have multiple wires put in place. In which case I have the multiple bus. Okay, so I can choose multiple bus. Again, it's going to ask me if I want that WDM block. I'll say OK. It just prepares the drawing so that I can put in wires. Wires, components, everything else. Now that I have my WDM block in place, I get another dialog box here, and it says, okay, tell me about your wire bus. What do you want your horizontal spacing to be? What do you want your vertical spacing to be? Do you want to start at a component? Do you want to start at another bus? Do you want to start at an empty space and go horizontal? Or do you want to start at an empty space and go vertical? So I can change these. The default is 0.5 for both, but I could change them to make them different. I could make the horizontal spacing 0.75 and the vertical spacing 0.5, okay, just by swiping it in and changing it. I don't have any components and I don't have any other buses, so I'm going to come in here and say, let's do an empty space, let's go vertical. And then how many wires do you want? The default is 3, okay, but if I only want 2, I can click on 2. Notice it changes the number there, 3 or 4, or if I wanted 6, I could simply swipe right here and type the number 6 in. It's going to draw that many wires, and they'll all be spaced 0.5 apart. Okay, I'm going to go back to 3 just for the sake of having it there, and choose OK. From here, I can use my mouse, and I can pick where I want my wires to start. So I'll pick with my mouse, and notice that as I draw my wires, again, I told it to go vertical, so it's drawing them vertical to begin with. It's allowing me to draw the 3 wires. Now, if I want to go off to the side, I can do that just like I did with the regular single wire. If I go this way, notice that it puts it changes the direction of them. But if I go the other direction, notice that it makes them cross over. It's just the way it's set up. If I want the other direction to cross over or not cross over, then what I want to do is, if you look at your command line down at the bottom on your command line, you have an option for flip. So I'll type F for flip and then enter, and then it changes them to go the other direction so they don't cross. But now the option is when I go this way, they're going to flip. So just kind of be aware that that's the case. For this one, I'm just going to come down here and start like that, and it draws my 3 wires in. Likewise, if I want to add in another one, I can do that. So I'll say, let's add in a multiple bus. And this time I'm going to say, let's start with another bus. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's start with another bus right here. And then what I want to do is I want to pick my bus. Now watch this. If I just pick this wire right here, and then I string out this way, notice that all 3 wires have connected to that first bus. But watch what happens as I go the other direction. As I connect to the second one and then the third one, it automatically recognizes that I want my wires to be connected to those other 3 buses, so they're not all connected to the same one. And this is the way it would be in industry anyway, so I can say click, and now it puts in my wire connections, it puts in my wire gaps, and everything is exactly the way that we would want it to be. If I do it again, notice I could come in here and I could go the other way. Okay, so I'll say, let's start on this one and go this way. They're all 3 connected to the first one until I get to the second, and then I get to the third, and now they're all going to go that way. Okay, or if I wanted to do it one more time, okay, I'm going to connect to another bus. This time I'll go vertical. Watch this. I can go up for the first one, and then I can go down for the second one. So you can kind of, if you think about it a little bit, depending on how you want it to connect, obviously this isn't the standard way things are done, but you could force it to do that way, just kind of depending on what you want it to do. All the other tools are still there. Okay, so for example, if I click here and I pull it across, I can still come in here and I can change my wire type. So if I say T for type, oh, it's not going to let me do that in the multiple wire. You'd have to actually change it there. Okay. If I go back into my wire type, and let's create another one. We'll call this one yellow, and then we'll just use 18 AWG again. And I'm going to change the color to yellow here, and just for fun, I'll change the line type to, let's load a hidden line type, just so that we have one in here. So we'll change it there. Okay, so it's all set up. I will make that the current one. Okay, now when I come in here and I say let's set up that multiple bus, okay, I'm going to say let's go at empty space and go horizontal, and I'll bring that across like this. That's all good. And then if I want to do another one that connects to it, okay, so I'll say start at another bus, say okay, and pull these across. Okay, it's going to do the same thing. It still puts in the wire gaps. Everybody's still good to go here. Now if I want to come in and I want to trim those wires, same thing. Right click on the wire, trim the wire. It gets rid of the wire, it gets rid of the connection. Okay, don't use erase, don't use trim, use the AE, the AutoCAD Electrical trim tools to do that. If I right click on this wire and I say change the type, okay, I can change this back to wires, for example, say okay. It only changes that one wire. It doesn't change the other three. So just be aware that, you know, if you have a multiple bus, you could give them different colors. Okay, and you'd have to change them manually if you wanted to do that. Last thing we want to look at here, go ahead and create one more drawing just for fun here, is I'm going to put in some connectors just to show how to put wires between connectors. So I'm going to use this connector tool that we will put in a little bit. We'll show you how to use this tool a little bit more in the future. But I'm just going to put in a connector and I will give it both plug and receptacle. And let me turn this around a little bit just for fun. So I'm going to insert this. I'll put that one there. So I've got a plug with some connectors on it. And then I'll put another one over here. And I'm going to purposely not line them up so that you can see what happens. I'll put it in like, say, down here. So maybe if I'm doing a point-to-point wiring diagram and I just need to show that wires from here go to wires from there, you can do that. All right. First of all, with a standard wire, if I want number 1 here to be connected with number 1 over here, all I really have to do is get close to the number 1. Notice that the nearest object snap pops up automatically. But if I want to see exactly where it's connecting, I can type X for, you know, to show the connections, and it'll actually give me that little green X. So I can say I want to connect exactly to that green X there. And if I want to go to this green X over here, notice that I don't have to press the X on the second one. As soon as I get close, it's automatically going to route it for me so that it can, you know, put that in there. So I'll say I want to connect to that one there. And it automatically connects my number 1 on this side to my number 1 on this side. It also works for multiple wire buses, but it's a little bit different. Okay. If I say I want to start at a component, which these are components, so I'll say I want to start at a component, notice that it grays out the number of wires because it's going to be dependent on how many wires you connect to in your component. So I'll say OK. What it asks me on the command line to do is to choose my starting wire connection points, and it puts in all of my green X's right off the bat. What you want to do is just make a window around the X's that you want to connect to. So I just clicked, and I'll click again, and it connects to those 3. And then it says, you know, select starting points. So if I wanted to select more points, I could, but since I'm done, I'll press enter. And now it says 2. And notice that it's automatically, you know, routing my wires for me. And if I come over here and just get close to this one, notice that it's saying, where do I want to go to? I can come in here and I can pick, you know, whatever I want my points to be. But in order to make this work perfectly, I probably need to say C for continue. So I'll stretch it over some distance, C for continue. And then I'll come in here. And then now that it's going to let me put them in straight in like you would really want to on a diagram, watch what happens when I come in and I get close to the green X on number 4. It's automatically going to space my other wires out for me and connect them exactly to where they're supposed to go.